So what about outcome-based pricing in the services world? And, of course, Fraction lives in that world. And the history of services, whether that's technology services, whether that's marketing services, legal services, well, even medical services, to no small extent, have lived in the hourly world. Hours of work done by the worker, that's what you get charged. Home services, even all of these kinds of services, to a good extent, have lived in that hourly world just because when the worker needs to do the work and that's how they get paid. And so essentially, that's almost a form of usage-based model if you think about it. However many hours were consumed, mark that up, and that's your price. But how does that change when AI enters the picture? We have hours and we have output. So AI, for the first time, what we're seeing, certainly in the software world, is that AI helps divorce hours and output. I mean, it was always the case that the best engineers were more productive than average. And that's true in every field. Maybe there's a factor there. Folks can debate, the so-called 10x engineer, but certainly a couple times more in terms of productivity was considered normal. Take that and multiply it by AI, and now you're starting to see that if 4x, 5x, 10x, if those were uncommon before, they are becoming more common now when you take an already good engineer and multiply their efficacy with AI versus, an average engineer. And generally speaking, what we're finding, because AI is not perfect, that the average service provider is not capable of getting as much output from AI either. So that capability of using it well, capability of fixing AI output when it's wrong, that depends on the person still being fundamentally good at their job. And so you get more output from the best people. So what that means is that AI is divorcing hours from output, which then, well, why wouldn't that inflect on the business model, whether that's in the legal world, whether that's in the tech services world, or otherwise? Now, in tech services, it's worth noting that historically there has been an outcome-based model, and that's the fixed bid. So the fixed bid to build an entire software product or to complete a project, that has existed for decades. And it's also existed for maybe centuries even in, say, the real estate space, where there's a fixed price to build a house or something like that. So why wouldn't that just live on? Well, it does. The challenge in the software world historically has been that there are lots of unknowns. There can be lots of unknowns in building software. And so what ends up happening is the provider just pads their estimate in order to come up with a fixed bid price that they can safely defend, so that even after overruns and issues and quality, checks, all that QA, all those processes and bug fixes, that they can deliver and still make a margin. But that's accounting for significant error room. And that error room means that the fixed bid may be as much as double what it really needs to be. So that's problematic. And so in between these two, we thought there had to be a better way. If I could spell right. Story points are a middle ground that we are adopting in terms of, on the one hand, just bill for hours. On the other hand, build for a whole fixed project. What if you could bill for each individual unit of work when it comes to a software project? And so that's story point based pricing, where you can essentially bill per task. But how do you decide what a task is worth? And that's where AI comes in. AI can automate the story point process because AI does a pretty good job writing code, right? Not perfect, but decent. In the same way, it does a pretty good job of reading descriptions of tasks and understanding the complexity involved, because AI, actually the best AI engineers are already using AI to plan out the work before the AI works on executing it. So that planning process is the same, essentially very similar to the story pointing process of judging, is this an easy task? Is this medium? Is this very complex? What are the sub-steps involved in it? So all of that goes into figuring out how hard the work is, which then enables that scoring and enables a new pricing model wherein the engineers actually get comp for completing tasks. So why is that beneficial? Well, that's beneficial because it's like taking the fixed bid model and cutting it into very fine slices. So the fixed bid, because it creates a lot of risk for the provider, causes padded bids. But when the provider is facing just these little automated incremental pricing increments, then that evens that risk equation out and helps balance between the needs of the client and the needs of the provider. So we think that that's the middle ground that enables outcome-based opportunities in services, and we're building that now.